subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell to be the first to get all my latest writing tips and videos. And remember, be original. Be a writing original. Hey everyone, Adrian here. Welcome back to another episode of Real Time Writing. Shout out to all the writing originals out there. And we're going to continue on the snake short story that I'm writing. So we're actually going to pick up where we left off with, we introduced Grandpa Jack, and we're following Will, our main character, and he was just going to be attacked by a snake, and Grandpa Jack came to the rescue. And now we're actually going to get into the dialogue and talk about some character development. And so let's continue. So the page where we left off last time was this. So we introduced Grandpa Jack, war-torn face. Will continues to yell out of fear because the snake was about to attack him, and then Grandpa Jack stepped on the snake and chopped its head off with a little shovel that he had. And then Grandpa Jack says with a calm demeanor, so parentheticals, calm demeanor, while, Jack is screaming his head off, Grandpa Jack, he's nice and calm. He's like, Will, you're fine. That's the second snake I killed today. Now Will is shaking in fear, so parenthetical shaking. Just get it away from me. So now I say, the snakehead snaps at Will. He jolts backwards. Grandpa Jack scoops up the head with the shovel, picks up the body. It goes limp, in his hands, and he disposes of the parts. Will calms down and fixes himself up. So, Grandpa Jack says, I know you said you ate snakes. Now Will jumps in and he's like, no, you don't get it, Grandpa Jack. I got a phobia of snakes. I can't even look at them. I never even touched a snake in my life. So, I'm trying to, get the point across that this is not just some, little thing Will is afraid of. This is going to be the prominent issue throughout this entire story. And we need to find out if he's going to overcome it, or if it's going to get worse, or nothing's going to change. So I'm pointing out that, he is terrified of them. He hates them. And I also made a little note here. If you can notice on the left, the bottom left, I wrote empty bottle, which was what I need to figure out is I need to mention somewhere about Grandpa Jack having to take heart pills because he has a weak heart because something's going to happen to him. So I just need to introduce it. Not too much. I just haven't figured out where. So, but I need to put that in there because it's going to come into play later. So let's continue the dialogue. So Grandpa Jack says, but it was just a harmless garter snake. So Will says, then why was it chasing me? So Grandpa Jack says, 'cause you got cat's blood on your shoe and it smelled your heat. Now, I crossed out heat and thought about, well, maybe I should put fear. It smelled your fear. But then I said, wait, I'm going to, bring that up a little bit later. So I'm just going to keep for now, it smelled your heat. Grandpa Jack points toward Will's shoes. Will looks down and finds blood stains on the side of his sole. The sole of his shoe. So I'm like, okay, because earlier, he came across that, kitten, kitten that was eaten, and I guess he must have stepped on the blood, and he didn't realize it. So now Will says, so which cat was it this time? So the reason I worded it like that is to imply that this is not the first time that it happened. There were many cats that had issues with the snakes or whatever. So that's just to let the audience know, we're right in the middle of this. We're not starting from the beginning, so to speak. So Grandpa Jack says, Rudy the Runt. So I gave it like a weak name, and I emphasize, it kind of rhymes. Rudy the Runt, Rudy Runt. So you see, you gotta play with the names to have more symbolism when you really think deep into it. So Will, I put in parentheticals like depressed. Like once he hears Rudy the Runt, he's devastated. So now he's gonna give a little backstory into why he liked Rudy the Runt so much. Because this is not building up the cat that got killed, because the audience or the reader is gonna empathize, is gonna side with the cat anyway, because he was like an innocent, cute little kitten. So I don't need to build him up. I'm giving Will his backstory to make you like Will. Character development, remember that. So Will is depressed, so he says, "No, he was my favorite one. When he was born, he was so tiny and wasn't eating. Nobody thought he would live past a day. But finally, for some strange reason, I was the only one he would let feed him, or he would allow to feed him." How did it happen? So see, I gave a quick, couple sentence backstory to make you realize that Will, he's a good guy. He has a good heart. I want you to side with Will. I want you to like Will. So let's continue. Alright, so now Grandpa Jack, he's going to tell you what happened with the cat and how the cat got eaten by the snake. He's going to, paint a picture for the audience because we didn't see it. So he has to talk about it. So he says, Grandpa Jack, "By the time I heard all the cats screeching and ran outside and found the snake, I noticed a bump in his stomach. I used my pocket knife to cut the snake open and pulled Rudy out. He was still breathing, but I couldn't save him. He must have been in there for a few long minutes. That was one tough runt. I'll give him that. I just didn't get there in time." So this is a very important, little speech he gives here, because I overworded it. I painted a lot of pictures because I want the reader to get a mental image in his brain. I want that to get stuck in his brain. So I also made a little note above, at the top of the page. I said, maybe Grandpa Jack says, "I was dead asleep. I must have mixed up my heart meds with the sleeping pills again." I'm not sure how I'm gonna word it, or if I'm gonna keep it in there, but I still want to mention something about the pills because it's gonna come into play later. So Will says, "I noticed the shovel. Did you bury him yet?" Grandpa Jack says, "No, I was in the middle of looking for a shoebox to put him in." Will says, "Can I bury him? I want to do it." So Grandpa Jack says, "Sure, let's get inside and you can help me look for a box. I also need to take my heart pills." So again, I'm not sure how I'm going to word it, but I just want to mention it about the pills. So that's basically where we at now. So now we cut inside Grandpa Jack's house. So interior living room, same, or you could put a little later, but it's, the same situation. So now Grandpa Jack digs inside an overflowing closet of knickknacks and clothes. He is being swallowed by the junk. Will stands by watching, or watches. He dodges random items being tossed at him. So I'm just saying that this closet is packed full of junk, and Grandpa Jack is getting swallowed up by all the junk digging through it, and Will, he's you get the picture. So the next thing, I just cut that out, that wasn't important. So Will says, "Is Gabe around? He wasn't at school today. Is he sick?" So now I mention another character, Gabe, who turns out to be Will's best friend. So then when Will shows up, you already kind of know about him. I mean, when Gabe shows up, you know about him. So, is Gabe around? He wasn't at school today. Is he sick? So Grandpa Jack kind of says, Gabe's been having lots of sick days lately. But I made sure, but I made him go to school today. So what that means is, this is not the first time Gabe has been not at school today. Oh, and I also, after he says that, he goes, and apparently, skipping school behind my back and lying to me. So not only is Gabe, like, you know, having a lot of sick days, like pretending to be sick, and then Grandpa Jack, like, made sure he went to school today. So after he dropped him off, he still, like, didn't go to school. He skipped class. So he must have, like, pretended to go inside, but then watched as Grandpa Jack, like, drove away and then left. So he's avoiding something. And then he's lying to Grandpa Jack. So see, and Will kind of snitched on him and he didn't even realize it. He didn't mean to, but he kind of gave it away that Gabe is not going to school, even though Grandpa Jack is making him go to school. So why is he pretending to be sick when he's really not sick? Why is he skipping school? You'll find that out. So see, I'm kind of building character development and building layers. I'm building depth. Because Grandpa Jack just found out that Gabe is lying to him. And that he's making up being sick a lot of times. Why? So let's continue. Alright, so Grandpa Jack is wondering why, Gabe is missing school and pretending to be sick. So Will says, I might have an idea why. Grandpa Jack says, I already know it's that punk kid Marvin bullying him at school every day. And then Will says, yeah, that giant football player, he was supposed to, named Marvin, he was supposed to fight him today at lunchtime. So I added in there after the fact, but, I'll fix it, that Marvin is not just some bully. He's a giant football player. So, I'm building Marvin, some more character development, like, bit by bit. So when you finally meet him, you'll have some idea about him. Grandpa Jack says, let me guess. Marvin is bullying you too. You have the same look of fear on your face that Gabe has every time I utter Marvin's name. Now I put on the side there, just like you and that snake. So I don't know if I'm going to put it in there or just I have it in my mind for later, but it's there. So Will shrugs, face says it all. Will says, yeah, but every time Marvin messes with me at school, Gabe protects me. He's got my back. So we continue with Grandpa Jack saying, judging by all the bruises on your face, nobody had your back today. So see, because Gabe wasn't there. So that has consequences. Will lowers his head in shame. Grandpa Jack finds a dusty, oversized shoebox, old shoebox, empties the junk onto the floor, hands it over to Will, and Grandpa Jack gets right in Will's face, nose to nose. So I want to emphasize this. Whatever he's going to say next is very important. So Grandpa Jack, authoritative, parenthetical, authoritative. He says, I'm going to give you the same advice I've been giving Gabe on how to deal with bullies. Maybe you'll be smart enough to actually use it. So here we go. Will says, I know how, I know you have to stand up to the bully and show him you're not afraid. But that's easier said than done. Because, you know, the football team or whatever runs the school. They're untouchable. So I put that there as a side note to, to put it in later, to give it a little bit more depth. Plus Marvin is bigger and stronger than me. So Grandpa Jack says, so what? You were bigger and stronger than that 2-foot garter snake, but you ran like a little girl. So let's continue. Alright, so we're almost done here. So Will says, because before Grandpa Jack was like, yeah, but you're bigger than that tiny snake and you ran like a girl. So Will says, yeah, but that snake has 2 fangs and Marvin has 2 fists. And I don't want to find out which one of them hurts more. Grandpa Jack says, I'll tell you which one is more painful than both of them combined. Marvin can smell it on you, just like that snake did. So see, I'm saying it without really saying it, And plus, that little side note about the snake smelling the fear, I put that in here now, so that's why I put that little note there, and it fit, great in this dialogue right here. So Will, kind of puts 2 and 2 together and says, okay, how do I get rid of that fear smell without getting my head punched off? And I put a little parenthetical in there, sarcastic, because the next line he says is very sarcastic. Or maybe you don't have to put the parenthetical in there, who knows. He goes, do I just take a shower? Can I just take a shower or something? So see, now, let's get to the most important piece of dialogue. Now, the reason I have this white block here, because I blocked out what I actually wanted to say in the dialogue, because I realized, wait a minute, I don't want Grandpa Jack to just tell the moral of the story. I don't want him to come out and tell Will. I want Will to learn it later. I want this character to grow and evolve and figure out the moral of the whole story later on his own. Character development. You see what I mean? So I blocked it out, and I even made a side note earlier to myself. Instead of just coming out and saying it, do it in a way where maybe Grandpa Jack just asks Will the question and doesn't give him the answer, and he's forced to think about it throughout the story, and then, based on the events that happened to Will, he figures out the answer to the question, and he grows and learns as a character. So, instead of saying what I was gonna say, I put this in there. Grandpa Jack, ask yourself, why is the tiny snake not afraid of you? Once you figure that out, or figure out the answer to the question, you will never be afraid again. You must realize that fear only exists in your mind. Now that little line was from my original dialogue. Maybe I can keep that in there. Maybe I can get rid of it. Maybe it's too much. Who knows? But I like what I put there. And Will says, well, until then, or until I figure that out, or until I figure out the question, I guess I'll have to use up some more of my sick days too. So you see how that came back around? So not only was Gabe overusing his sick days to avoid Marvin, until Will figures something out, he just has to avoid Marvin too. Not go to school, use up some sick days too. You get it? So let's finish up. Grandpa Jack finally excavates an oversized shoebox. He hands it over to Will. Yeah, I know I said it before, I'll fix it. This is the pre-draft, work in progress. So he excavates out a box because, that I pulled out my thesaurus there, and that kind of helps me with the description of him finding the box. So anyways, Grandpa Jack says, "What time is it?" He's like, "Shit, I forgot to take my heart pills again. Here, this box will have to do." So see, I just mentioned quickly about the heart pills and to be continued. So I hope you enjoyed it. Did a lot of character development. Now, why am I spending so much time on Grandpa Jack? Because I want you to I want to build up his character, character development. I want you to like him. I want you to connect with him, because we're going to find out what happens to him later. So when something happens to him, you're going to feel sympathy. You're going to feel bad, because I spent all this time building him up. So thanks so much, guys. We'll pick it up next time. See ya. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like, share this video, hit me up on Facebook and Twitter, comment down below. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And also don't forget to check out my other videos. And until next time, remember my motto, where story comes first.